My teaching philosophy is that every child is a learner and has a right to an education. For society to flourish, its population must be able to equally participate in all aspects of freedom, liberty, and political processes. Therefore, its members must be educated. Knowing students is a key component to any successful classroom. This goes beyond their test scores, report cards, and cumulative folders. To know a student is to understand their cultural background and the value that it adds to the classroom. It can serve as a tool to guide instruction as previous learning may have been approached differently. Also, discovering the interest of students can provide important information such as the rich experiences that lie in their prior knowledge. The second component is respect. It is not enough to simply know about your students, their life, and their culture, but one must also respect them. This can be hard if their cultural differences are in conflict with your own. Education is a two-way path, however, is a path that teachers and students must travel together. When students realize what they bring to the classroom has value, their self-esteem and confidence go up, and they are more open to learning. I recognize that learners may have different goals and ambitions, which will affect the way they use the language I teach them. However, by allowing my learners to display their knowledge and competence through lessons that incorporate the use of their native language, this enhances their bilingual abilities and addresses those different goals and ambitions. Knowing my students means I will not assume that because they respond to me orally in fluent English, that they are English proficient. I realize that conversation language comes first, as students quickly learn to converse with their peers. However, I scaffold their learning by allowing code switching in their conversation during projects and hands-on lessons. I support their reading and writing of English by providing them with quality content learning which will enable them to move someday beyond the ESL classrooms. Examples of this are multicultural reading materials and writing lessons that equal those in the classroom of their English counterparts. This, along with oral presentations, aid in the building of key concepts and move my students to the belief that they have something to offer to the world and that their goals can be achieved. There is no El Pobrecito syndrome in my classroom. I also maintain a relationship with the students' parents through meetings and home visits. I provide newsletters in appropriate language to meet the needs of the family, and in these I offer ideas on how students' learning can be fostered at home. I invite parents to participate in the classroom and to share their experiences and cultural traditions with the class. It is imperative that a bridge be established between home and school to avoid a mismatch in expectations and goals, and for the parents to know they have an important role in their child's education. I will also serve as a mentor for my students by communicating their needs to the principal or any other school officials when necessary. I make myself available for tutoring and conferences and which aids students in a place to share their concerns, fears, and hopes for their future without fear of censure. I provide students with current information on educational options as well as future options that match these goals to assist them in their class selections. Another thing I feel is important is adaptability. I adapt my lessons to meet the needs of my students by being aware of their different learning needs and making additional materials available to assist in this process. I realize that my students may be of varied levels of second language acquisition, which means modification of some lessons and more extensive modeling of others. I seek to be clear in all instructions and expectations, and I make sure the students receive the same quality content provided to students in regular classrooms, but I do modify these lessons. This includes moving away from worksheets and moving into more technology, group projects, and other interactive learning opportunities. I seek to provide literature that connects with my students rather than standard texts selected by school administrations, which are geared more toward mainstream U.S. culture. I allow collaboration on projects, which allows the learners to share ideas and knowledge with their peers before addressing the classroom. According to Merriam-Webster, diversity is the inclusion of people differing from one another in race or culture. This is an important component of my philosophy. In the classroom, it is important to understand that language and culture and the values that accompany them are constructed in both home and community environments, which means students come to school with constructed knowledge and their learning is best understood as the interaction of past and present linguistic, social, cultural, and cognitive constructions. This is why I designed my instructions to allow the students to display their knowledge, giving them a feeling of competence and value. I believe that all students should be given cultural equity, and they should be encouraged to share their traditions and language and explore issues that directly affect them in society, such as racism and ethnic stereotypes. By giving the students a voice in the classroom and high academic standards, I empower them as individuals so they may move beyond what they have previously considered their place and take their positions of leadership in their communities and the world. Again, all students learn. It is the manner in which we teach them that decides how much and for how long. Students who receive a positive educational experience tend to continue further in school and become happy, productive individuals. By knowing the student, I can enhance their learning with proper materials and understanding of them as an individual. In respecting my students, I teach them to respect themselves and others. They can be proud of who they are wherever they are. With effective communication, I can maintain a relationship with students and their family. I can discover their needs as a learner and adapt lessons to meet their level of proficiency and add in the next step of their learning. I will create an environment that draws on the qualities that we share as a people and celebrate the wonder of diversity in the individual. It is my goal to make every student feel worthy and appreciated for who they are and who they seek to become.